Welcome to Ladies in Tech with Lauren Deal and Kelly Mack, a show by women for women, breaking the IT stigma by empowering, inspiring, and highlighting ladies in tech. Let's join the ladies in the studio now for today's episode.
Thanks for joining us on this episode of Ladies in Tech. I'm Lauren Deal, joined with Kelly Mack.
Hello.
And Sophie Goodwin. I am a teacher of 10 years, a TV host, and also a tech enthusiast. But Kelly, tell us a little bit about how you got into the tech field.
All right. Well, I started off in radio, and if that's not the most technically challenging job, I don't know what is. But I've been doing that for about the last 15 years, and I decided to kind of pivot. So I've done social media, PR, radio, and now I'm doing tech, and I love it too. Joined with me is Sophie.
Well, I actually am studying telecommunication right now, so that's kind of how I got into tech. A lot of the tech that I work with is cameras and computer software programs, things like that. But I'm also a TV host here as well and getting ready to start here full time. Excited about that. And I've been taking some courses here as well about IT fundamentals, so definitely trying to get more into the tech field.
Well, IT Pro TV has so many certifications, and so we're all going through that journey together. But the mission of Ladies in Tech is to empower women to either enter the tech field or inspire them to rise within. So thank you so much for joining us. Today's topic is going to be talking about artificial intelligence, and we actually had an incredible interview with a woman who is a PhD at University of Florida. Her name is Eva Agapaki. And so let's check out our interview and find out more about artificial intelligence, machine learning, and deep learning. We are so excited to be joined with a special guest today.
We are. It's always good to have somebody in the studio, live, and not virtually.
Yes, yes.
All right, so with us today, Eva Agapaki. You study over at UF. You're actually working on a project about artificial intelligence.
Exactly.
Yeah, so let's start by saying, where are you from originally?
I'm from Greece. Crete, actually, an island in Greece.
Okay.
And I've been traveling around the world for studies and work. And I have a background in civil engineering. I started with a civil engineering degree. So I didn't have an exposure on AI at that time. Then I continued with geotechnical earthquake engineering, so how we design earthquake-resistant homes in California.
Oh, wow.
And then I'm very curious by nature. I love learning and exploring new technologies.
Yeah.
So this is where, for my PhD in engineering in the UK, actually, I was introduced to these tools and algorithms, and the power of them was what intrigued me the most to actually pivot my career to AI.
That's awesome. Oh my goodness.
Just the series of events that led you to where you are is fascinating.
Yeah.
And I'm also hearing a couple different locations that were brought up in the origin of your story.
Right.
Yeah.
So you've studied in the UK, right?
That's right.
And you're from Boston, or you moved to Boston.
That's right.
But now you're here in Gainesville. So tell us about the progression of how that happened.
Yeah, so I originally started at Cambridge in engineering for my PhD.
Okay.
And then I won a fellowship to move to MIT in the computer science department because of the nature of my project that involves an intersection of AI in civil engineering.
Yeah.
So that's how I moved to Boston. And then after working a couple of years in tech companies in Boston, there was this opportunity at UF with this huge partnership with NVIDIA and the shift towards AI across disciplines in the curriculum and research. So I really wanted to be part of it.
Okay.
So that's how I moved to Gainesville and UF to start projects that are related with AI.
Okay, and you know what? I love it, Lauren, because you're not from Gainesville. I'm not from Gainesville. Eva's not from Gainesville. But the point that I'm hearing here is sometimes you got to get out of your comfort zone and go out and get where opportunity exists.
Chase your job, chase your dream.
This is exactly what she did.
You have truly progressed through your career, but now you've landed in AI at UF, and they just built a $15 million research center. Is that correct?
Exactly. Yes.
Wow. So tell us about what you're doing there. What kind of projects are you doing?
Sure. So I have a research group. I'm the director of the Digital Twins of Infrastructure Systems research group. So there we research on how to build digital twins, and I will explain what that is, of complex systems. So like bridges, airports, industrial systems, and all of that using AI technologies.
Wow, so you're building bridges, you're helping to build bridges and airports with artificial intelligence.
Exactly. To help build them better, more
Yes.
sustainably, and lower costs and reliably.
Okay.
That's how AI helps
Yes.
this discipline. So this is where exactly my research lies.
Okay.
And in terms of like, we build the digital copy because it's like a digital world. This term is not new. It was introduced by NASA a couple of decades ago.
Okay.
But in the built environment and engineering disciplines, it's very recent. It's about 5 years ago that digital twins were introduced.
Okay.
And we need to have these digital representations so that we are able to make better decisions for these systems, because no one wants to have accidents or serious repercussions because of poor maintenance of these systems. And there's actually a huge investment on infrastructure bill at the moment, so that urges further developments on using these technologies for these types of mega projects. And this is exactly where my research lies, and partnerships with industry to improve these systems, to better maintain them using the power of these artificial intelligence tools.
Wow, that's awesome.
Just thinking about how this, has evolved even in the last 5 years.
Yeah.
But when I think of artificial intelligence, I think of robots.
Yeah.
And so maybe we should kind of backtrack and talk about what is AI versus machine learning versus deep learning. What is it?
Great. So in layman terms, AI is a system that can have multiple human capabilities, like sensing or making decisions, or even seeing and reacting. And there are multiple fields, exactly as you mentioned, Lauren, on robotics. Robotics is a subfield of AI. As is computer vision. So ML is another subset, a set of like algorithms and systems that we can use to infer better decisions. And over time, they become better and better with the assistance of humans, of course. And it is exactly these patterns that we recognize when we use all this wealth of data that makes this system so powerful. And then in terms of deep learning, this is a very convenient and practical way of thinking about ML, but on larger scale. So we have these huge data sets now and databases that in multiple disciplines. That's how this field has become so popular nowadays. And that's why these algorithms have become more mature and more evident, and there is this wave of these new technologies across different disciplines. So the ones that have been advanced so much, and we can think about finance, about marketing, autonomous vehicles are the most evident ones where there is this huge wave of AI, but then there are also less obvious fields and disciplines like law or design, where these technologies are just emerging, but they're going to be like a huge boom in these industries.
What a neat time to be watching and interacting with AI, just to see the evolution. But when we talk about AI being such a vast net, if we will, that we're throwing over so many different possible career paths, what might be some common misconceptions about AI? Because when I hear about that, immediately I'm like, oh my word, should I be worried?
Yeah.
But I think AI has more good than potential harm, right?
Yes, exactly. And that's a great question because there are a lot of ethical implications of using this technology. For example, what about a system that using an AI tool can predict an outcome that is incorrect, and then we have losses because of that?
Yeah.
So in those cases, would we attribute this mistake to a human operator that has created the system, or the actual AI system itself?
Right.
So we always need a human that will validate the output of these algorithms. We cannot expect, because AI is a tool that will improve and solve problems of humanity, rather than being the actual changer and being the actual central entity that will take these decisions. So this is there is a field of AI that involves a human-computer interaction, and there has been a lot of research on that to actually improve these processes for the better of humanity.
Trying to make living easier for humans, not eliminating humans. And I think, there are so many sci-fi movies out there that give the doomsday impression, but in reality, there's someone like Eva behind the scenes who's trying to help us live better lives with the help of AI.
Right.
This is incredible. You talked about some of the projects that you were working on, but now I'm curious, for a woman who is maybe thinking about entering the AI field, what certifications or degrees would you say for her to start in?
So if for young women, this is a great opportunity to enter such an emerging and booming field. And if they don't have a computer science background, for example, where they would learn like all the coding fundamentals and math skills or problem-solving skills, then I want to say that there is a potential to switch their career towards AI by applying for like data science degrees, or also there are so many. There's an abundance of online sources on data science, so there is opportunity and hope. Like I also didn't start as a computer scientist. I switched my career towards computer science because of this. Because I nurtured learning and I had the passion to continue learning these tools and fundamentals. So there is a hope as soon as there is a will to learn and immerse yourselves in this field.
Okay. Do you see a lot of fellow women in your profession?
There are, but still not so many.
Yeah. But it's growing, but it could do a lot better.
Yes.
Got it. And we actually talked about that one day on the show. Just the lack of presence by women in general in IT and tech. So that's kind of how and why we created this show, to explore different tech careers and feature different phenomenal women like yourself to talk about your career path and how you got there and so on and so forth. So that brings me to a personal question. How do you balance? Obviously you are very, very busy in the workplace. How do you balance work versus your personal life and your family? Do you have a balance, or are you still working on that?
Still working on it.
Okay. It can be difficult when you're successful, and you have goals in mind. So I know it was difficult for me managing the two. So I always like to ask that question, but it's definitely something we should all strive for, a good, healthy balance.
Well, and especially if it's your passion, it's probably hard to turn that off at night. You probably think of one more thing. You probably have a notepad next to your bed. I think as a woman, if you're passionate in what you're doing, it's really hard to separate, church and state, or work and personal time.
Right.
But I'm sure that's something we could all work on. But
absolutely.
I'm thinking of when you talk about women getting into IT and just how we're trying to push more women to step into this space and to take ownership of the sciences and the maths. What was your favorite subject when you were in elementary school or high school?
Science. I know it. Sorry. I seen it on her face. It was like across her forehead. I was into science.
But if she said social studies or writing, I would not give it,
Right.
I loved science, but particularly math.
Okay.
And for my undergraduate thesis, actually, I was developing mathematical equations for designing earthquake resistance, building foundations.
Okay.
So that's where it all started.
Yeah.
with the math passion, and then it evolved towards AI through a lot of pivoting
Yeah,
in
definitely.
my career.
And you mentioned that twice, as far as helping out with the artificial intelligence behind earthquake resistance and the foundations of buildings and so on and so forth. What is the one thing in your career thus far that you are most proud of? Something that is just a badge of honor for you.
It is actually the moment that I realized that, because I was very intimidated in terms of entering a computer science field.
Okay.
And I thought it is really hard and I could not make it. And the moment that I realized that this is true and I can do this, that was life-changing in a way. And I see that with a lot of women, and because of the male-dominated field, this is difficult in a lot of ways. But I was very happy because also working in the tech industry, I was able to see my ideas become products and see the real impact. And I was not, I could never imagine that I would have this passion for a field that in the past seemed like so difficult to enter. So that was the moment that I became very, very, very proud for what has happened.
That's awesome. So it was a moment for her,
Yes.
And some people, they have different highlights and different achievements, and she's like, the moment I realized I became proud of my work. Wow, is all I can say. Well, we got to get her on as the Woman of the Week.
I was just going to say, I definitely want to highlight you more. But advice to a woman, because I imagine that, me personally, I feel like stepping into a role where you're unfamiliar, you can almost get imposter syndrome of, am I good enough to do this? Can I push through these barriers? Should I pivot and do something that I know I'm capable of doing? Could you offer some advice to our viewers if they are entering the tech career or their tech field and thinking, I'm not sure if I can do this? What would you say to that woman?
So I was actually exactly on that position, and I was very fortunate to have some mentors that helped me navigate the space and gain this confidence that I can do this. I would also recommend. First of all, I would recommend having also a mentor group, and that would include some male advocates for women that will help them on the way. And my second advice is related to reading a book that was very important. And there is also a group around Lean In. They're a Lean In organization founded by Sheryl Sandberg. And that has been also instrumental in terms of seeking challenges and not being afraid to take the risks in this career, because it's not easy. However, with determination and the right peer group around you as a young woman, it is possible. And then you will be amazed by what you can achieve.
I love that.
Yeah, me too.
Let's put that book up on the screen so that you can try to grab that for yourself as well. But, Eva, this is fantastic.
Yeah, we appreciate you joining us and visiting the studio. I mean, who would have knew? And I mean, I am absolutely intrigued. Like, I want to read the book now.
And I'm thinking, if someone who's watching is interested in jumping into AI, coding is a key element of that as well.
Right.
It is.
Python is a course that we offer at IT Pro TV. Is that something that you would recommend?
Absolutely. Python is the language that is widely used
Yes.
for ML, machine learning and deep learning tools. So learning the fundamentals, like starting with the beginner's course and then developing on top of that with those skills is absolutely the right path to go.
So that's a good starting point.
Yes.
Let's put that up on the
There you
screen.
have
You
it.
can actually click at the bottom of the screen and check out IT Pro TV courses and start your Python journey and possibly follow in Eva's footsteps. But Eva, if they were to follow your journey and maybe want to ask questions, how can they find you? Maybe social media or LinkedIn? How can they reach out to you?
So they can reach out via LinkedIn or Twitter or my personal website as well, or via email, of course, so we can share my details.
Excellent.
Okay. Awesome. Well, thank you so much for joining us today. You definitely shed some great light. You shared some great knowledge. And I have a feeling she's inspired quite a few out there. So thank you so much for joining us on Ladies in Tech.
Thank you. My pleasure to be with you.
Back to you in the studio, Sophie.
Wow, what a great insight into what Eva does over at the University of Florida. I'm sorry I couldn't be here in person for that, but it was great to see it after the fact. Lauren and Kelly, what did you guys think about being able to talk to her in person, kind of about what she does there?
And I learned a lot. How about you, Lauren?
Fantastic interview with Eva. I have to say that she was very impressive with her resume. Going from Cambridge to MIT to now down to University of Florida, it's really neat to know that behind the scenes of artificial intelligence, there is someone who is holding the ethical beliefs of regulation and governance for artificial intelligence, and knowing that AI is not something to be scared of. It's something that's actually going to enhance humanity. So I felt like this interview really gave me a peace of mind, but also made me excited for the next boom of technology. That's something right around the corner.
Yeah, and I love the way that she talked about the algorithms with social media and how they, collect data and all of that good stuff. I mean, I was intrigued. I was like, tell me more. Tell me more. I want to know more. And it's funny because when I started in this position, I never heard the term AI before. I've heard artificial intelligence, but we have a lot of acronyms and abbreviations. So it was nice for her to be able to break down AI, DM, and what was the other one?
ML and DL. So
DL.
machine learning and deep learning.
Deep learning. Okay, I got my letters mixed up.
Still learning.
Yes.
But Sophie, it was really cool because she talked about how Python is one of those introductory, there it is, courses that can get you on the mission or on the path to do artificial intelligence as well. So if you at home are thinking about starting that journey, make sure that you go to IT Pro TV and check out our courses, and you can be just like Eva. But Sophie, we have a lit tip of the week, so let's jump in and hear about what that looks like.
So our lit tip of the week has to do with, like you just said, learning coding is a great way to get started in AI and in machine learning. So we do offer some courses at IT Pro TV on that. We have an introductory course to Python. We have programming fundamentals. If you've started learning but you want a chance to kind of apply what you've learned, we have an applied fundamentals course called Guess the Number. It'll let you hone your programming skills by just building something simple. And our CompTIA fundamentals course also has some information about programming and about software that's really useful to know when you're getting into deep learning. And if you're still not really sure that you want to commit to a course or start that process, we actually do have a video on the IT Pro TV YouTube channel called 5 Steps to Get Started Learning Python. So that's definitely something to check out if you're thinking about getting started. And that's our lit tip of the week.
Oh my word, I love that. I love that Sophie dug a little bit deeper into it because I know what's in the library, but understanding what exactly to start with is so helpful. Thank you, Sophie.
It really is. And honestly, I never heard of Python again until I started working here at IT Pro TV. So, it's a computer language, and I believe our guest was the first woman that I know that speaks Python. So you gotta love it.
Yes, not French, not Spanish, Python.
Python,
Cool.
that's right, that's right. All right, well, speaking of women, because this show is all about women and ladies, let's go ahead and check out this week's Woman of the Week, our Wow. Our
our wow this week, her name is Catherine Pauline. She's from Quebec in Canada. She's an AI research scientist at Volta Charging, which is an American electric vehicle infrastructure company. She's been there since November 2021, but she's held several positions before that have to do with being an AI specialist and an AI research scientist. She attended, I'm going to butcher this pronunciation, but Université de Moncton.
Sounded amazing.
University of Moncton.
That sounds nice.
It's French, and I don't speak French. I don't speak Python, and I don't speak French. So
good job.
I never claimed to be bilingual. So it's a French language university. She earned her bachelor's of science in mathematics and computer science, and then her master's in computer science. She's been working in AI ever since, and that's our Woman of the Week.
All right. Very, very cool. I love
impressive.
it. Yeah, definitely. I am loving this voyage of Ladies in Tech. You know, we continue to learn about different ladies that are inspirational in the tech industry. And then I'm told we've been inspiring a few too, because we've been getting a lot of people to reach out to us on LinkedIn, on Instagram, on Twitter. So make sure you connect with us there as well.
Oh my gosh, absolutely. Great point. Well, you can actually nominate a woman by going to our socials. But Sophie, how do we get in touch with this Woman of the Week?
So Catherine is actually available on Instagram at The AI Girl. She's available on Twitter at Kath M. Pauline. And she's also on YouTube under The AI Girl. She's got a couple videos uploaded on cryptography and creating your own machine learning environment. So if you want to see more of what she does, definitely check those out.
Oh my word. All right, that's really cool. I love being able to connect with people on socials. It makes you feel more connected and you can ask some questions. But I think that this is the moment in our show where we should have a motivational moment with Kelly.
Today we're going to talk about life's journey. You know, there's always going to be bumps, detours, and unexpected stops along the way. But never let the stumble in the road be the end of your journey.
Ooh, that's a good quote. I think so many times we see the obstacle and many times we stop and we think, okay, we can't get around this. This is way too hard. But even in our interview talked about inspiring women to get beyond that, to push through any obstacle. So great quote, Kelly.
Thank you, thank you. And you know, it reminds me of even my voyage. You know, there's been times where I've been discouraged and like, oh my gosh, what is this? You know, especially when I was taking ITIL 4, it was like, oh my gosh, this is tedious. It's a lot of time. I don't understand some of this jargon and lingo, but I kept going. And hey, good news. Getting ready to take the big exam. So.
Yes.
And I love that bit about detours too, because I think that sometimes maybe the journey changes a little, so it's not quite the same as it was, but it doesn't mean that you stop. I know that I started in college as a business major, and I know that that doesn't fit me at all. But I started as a business major, and I just wasn't doing well, and I didn't like the classes, and I talked to an advisor, and the advisor was like, I would just consider other options. Maybe college isn't for you, and I just panicked. And I ended up switching into telecommunication and thriving and doing so much better. So my journey changed a little. I took a detour, but instead of just dropping out or going to another university or going back home, I was like, no, I'm going to find a different avenue, and it ended up working out well. So I think the bit about detours as well is definitely important.
Definitely. And the good news is, guys, we want to share with you that Sophie is graduating in August.
Yay, Sophie.
So she never gave up. So mission accomplished.
Mission accomplished.
Long distance, yeah. Congratulations to Sophie and to you if you're pushing through certifications or changing your career path. You can see all of us graduated into the tech field coming from different areas, and I think that's the best advice, is pushing through any obstacles. So thank you so much to Kelly for that motivational moment, but we encourage you to reach out to us on all of our social media platforms, Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, and LinkedIn. Wherever your socials lead you, we'd love to find you. Sophie is fantastic with engaging. We'd love to hear about a nominated wow and just to hear about future topics you'd like to see on the show. So make sure you're connected with us. But thank you for joining this episode of Ladies in Tech. We'll see you next time every Wednesday at 4 p.m.